Here it is. That it?
Okay. Yeah, that's it. So that's what happened with Russia. If you missed it, I'm sorry.
That's funny.
Russia is a very strong power of contrast. Russia will always be there as contrast. They have been ever since World War II. They've been a contrast of all this humanitarian government. And Russia and China both. And it has to be there. And all the way up until we finally move into a total one world government, there will be some contrast. Russia is the most up to par, the most technical, and the most powerful, along with China. And they are against this one world system move. They always have been. They don't want it to happen. So when you take who is the most up to par, technically, spiritually, and understanding of the movement we are in, it's the Third Testament. William Branham's message people, they're not even close. They're not even close. It's the Third Testament that has so many of the same things we have, but yet they are against this humanitarian move. They are against bringing all things into one system, one spirit.
Right.
They're against all of these things.
They're still supporting hierarchies and that sort of.
That's right. Superiority, inferiority.
Yeah.
They don't want to level the playing field.
Can you check your phone and see if it's pulled up? Mine's still spinning, so I want to make sure.
Yeah, it's back on.
Okay, because Jamie Wesley has a question. I want to make sure that we're definitely on before I ask this.
Check, but I'm
Jamie
pretty
Wesley.
sure.
Now mine's locked. So I don't know if it's...
Yeah.
We're still live?
We're back on.
Okay, it's my
And it is
phone.
running. You can see it's moving.
Now it's spinning, but before it wasn't.
See that up
This
there?
live.
My spinning is just the fact that I don't have the Wi-Fi, but
Let's see if
see, I see people still putting stuff out. So
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little slow, but it's there.
we can... Okay.
Let us know if we're up. If you see, if we're up, just write in and say, yes, everything's okay. Because we're having a little bit of trouble here.
I got it now. It's up.
Okay.
Jamie Wesley asked, and I lost his question, but what he asked was, what is the purpose of a one world government?
What is the purpose? Humanitarian. It brings the earth to peace. It brings the earth outside of all the battles, the competition, the wars, the governments, ethnic groups, cultures. I mean, is there...
Yeah, let me step in here with this.
Okay, and I'll get coffee.
Look back at before Adam stepped us into humanity through sex birth. Look at the spoken word civilization. It was all over the entire earth. Different ethnic groups, different localities, but they were all at peace with each other. There wasn't all this warring and all this stuff going on. It wasn't until we stepped into the sex birth part of humanity that division, that separation for analysis and evaluation came into play. So the point is, we got to come full circle. We got to go through this whole cycle of separation, evaluation, analyze everything, understand what all are, and then put it back together in a position where we're more mature. We've experienced all things, and now we're back together as one, but as mature. Because spoken word, I don't care what their ability was to just bring people into there, they were children. When it comes to society, they were still children. They didn't understand contrast. They didn't have experience. None of this stuff.
That's right.
So we're going through all this, and we are going back into. That's the point of the 12 cycles. The 12 houses, to get back into the Capricorn age to where we were, I guess you could say, before humanity through sex birth, get back to that place, but in a position where everybody's mature, we understand all things, and now we can put all that iniquity, all that contrast, we can put it aside and live in peace and harmony together. That's my view.
We're able to live with emotion,
Yes.
with feeling,
Yes.
with love, with all these things that are in us. We're able to live, and we're able to live even though I believe we will always have some kind of contrast, because that's what makes us grow. One world government brings us to where we resolve those issues amicably, professionally, spiritually, without slaughtering so many hundreds of thousands.
Without it being contentious and adversarial.
That's right.
It's just contrast. Just like the weather. One day it's cloudy, the next day it's sunny. There's contrast there, but it doesn't have to bring on misery. We can enjoy both.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what I see is these three great influences, I call them triune influence, growing in strength, just like, think about how when we started in 2014, talking about one spirit. 2015, I think I went to Pastor Joe Gomez's place, Brother Joe, and I preached and I talked about God and Satan, one spirit, and God and Satan coming out of the same box. And we couldn't really have one without the other, and that's the way we learn. And from there, all of this has opened up. Think about how much we've grown in strength from 14 until 20. And now let's move over to the one world government, not the one spirit government, but the one world government, which is moving toward the physical and spiritual becoming one. Think about how far it has come. It's going to continue to grow in strength. And I believe these three influences will remain in strength across the globe during the first half of the third coming of Christ. First half meaning the Aquarian Age. The Aquarian Age, Christ, the third coming, started about the same time, and will go through 2,000 some odd years. In the Aquarian Age, the first, what I say, half of the third coming, and the last half of the third coming, the setting up of the kingdom or of the collective body in the earth. That would be the Capricorn Age. So we see this strength of the three reaching out and becoming greater and greater and putting out their influence through the Aquarian Age while the world is creating its peaceful existence through trial and error, governments raising up, people not liking them, toppling them, or peaceably changing them, however it goes, war or whatever. We'll see it through trial and error. It will come closer and closer and closer to that one world system that the whole collective body of the earth will enjoy. And this will bring in, when it comes to that point that the trial and error has pretty well matured itself, this will bring in the Capricorn Age where the stability of the collective body of the earth is established. And we see it as a one world government, but all of us being different. All of us being able to cope with the way we are, the people we are. The Capricorn Age is an earth sign. You remember, I saw Pisces some time back. I said Pisces was the water sign, which it is, and Pisces was the sign the church ages was under. Then comes William Marion Branham, the prophet, and he was an Aries, a fire sign. So the church ages, the water sign, got exploded by the fire sign, the fiery William Branham. There come the fire sign and exploded the church ages in fiery judgment. He judged Hollywood. He judged the United States. He judged the world. I indict this generation for the second crucifixion of Jesus Christ. He judged the whole world in fiery judgment, burning it all up. And the water, when fire strikes water, what happens? There's an explosion. There was a great explosion, and the water raised into an air sign. Went from water to fire to air. What was the air sign it raised into? Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. the Aquarian age. And we establish a new government in the mind or in the air. We go in the air, the catching away. This is your meeting in the air. You want to fly away to a meeting in the air, you're in it. This is the meeting in the air. This is the meeting in the Aquarian age. This is the meeting in the mind. The air is the mind. And you've got the Aquarians, the Geminis, and the Libras, the air signs right now. And if you just look up the leaders in the world, you'll find out that almost all of them are either Aquarian, Gemini, or Libra. One of the three. Because air is ruling, and this is what's in. Then we come back to the earth to set up the mind that was established in Aquarius in the earth. And the age after Aquarius is Capricorn, the earth sign. This is the real rapture. If you want to know what a rapture is, it was from the church into the fire of the prophet, into the air of Aquarius, and back into the earth in Capricorn. And we just watched a 4,000-year rapture take place.
That's very good. That's true.
It is all in front of us. And we now have the means to make the ripples reach far and wide in the frequencies and the vibrations of the air world. We've set up an air world, the internet. It can go everywhere. 7 seconds. I'm talking to you in Africa. I'm talking to you in India. I'm talking to you in the Philippines. I'm talking to you all across the world. Just 7 seconds. We have the ability to do this. Brother Mitch and I was talking about it. I told Brother Mitch, I said, I'm like Jonathan Livingston Seagull, if you've ever read that. I'm just enjoying flying and learning each move of the Spirit in the air. The air world has jet streams that affect the entire world. Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra are the jet streams throughout the world, and they're affecting everything. This is the meeting in the air. This is the real meeting in the air. The air signs, the Aquarian age. The names change. The leaders will change. Governments' control may change. Many wars may be fought. Many things will happen while humanity works its way through the third coming of Christ to actually come to a throne that is seated in heavenly places. Turning inward and understanding the individual peace needed in order to have world peace. The ironic thing, Brother Mitch and I was talking about, and this is what I was talking about. I said the ironic thing is when we get to that point of world peace, where everybody's feeling like this is a good place to be. The governments are all and everything. It's one word. To that point and that place, the ironic thing, I said, is when we get to that point, they may not even call it Christ. They might even know it's Christ, but it will be Christ.
Probably won't. All the religious terminology will be totally wiped out.
Totally wiped out. Brother Mitha said, I'm thinking the same thing. Kind of like now. Everyone, every government is working toward the move forward today, and billions unaware of their contribution to the kingdom of Christ. And the whole world is contributing to it right now, moving right into the flow of the Spirit, which is a one world government. I wrote to him and said, yes, that's it to me too. We've carried some really deep religious ignorance. Does there have to be another sign over the head of Jesus? You know, before it was Jesus, King of the Jews. And everybody, they said, don't say he's a king. Say he said he's a king. Does there have to be another big sign that says Jesus is here, King of the world? Are we that ignorant? Does there have to be another big sign? I don't think so. Maybe everyone wants another sign. Jesus is King of the world. But the reality is, he may be here for thousands and millions of years and no one even know to call it Christ. That is that is against every fiber of your body. I know that. But the collective body of the earth and of the Spirit knows he sought of himself no reputation. Why do we have to call it Christianity? Why do we have to call it Christ? Why do we have to call it anything? If people come together and with an atmospheric spirit of love, they really do love one another, and they work through their systems to make sure that everyone is taken care of, and as spirituality grows among us, call it whatever you want. You know, that is, for me, we both said we believe that's where we're at. And we brought up a scripture, Corinthians 15:28. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, talking about Jesus, then shall the Son, or talking about the Spirit, when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him, that put all things under him, that God may be all in all. There's coming a time when Jesus surrenders his authority.
Yep.
He surrenders everything. The sonship surrenders itself to the collective body, making way for all. All the world is Christ moving. That is what we are seeing. The movement of the Spirit into those words. It first was bringing everything subject unto the Spirit except Jesus. And Jesus, everything comes subject to him. And then Paul says in the end, he shall surrender everything up to the Spirit of the collective body. And the collective body becomes the all in all, and there's a power shift. And it has taken this journey through time to get to this character here in order to receive this shift. It's a shift away from a one-man ministry,
Exactly.
a one-man salvation, a one-man redemption, a one-man world, a one-man. It's a shift away from kingship. It's a shift away from priesthoods. It's a shift away from prophets. It's a shift away from all this. You're beginning to see why I said, let's move away from thinking of these things in such a manner. It's a shift to the all in all, to the Spirit. That's what we're seeing. All in all. A collective body holding the power.
Agreed.
I hate to tell you, 'cause I want you to continue. 9:20.
Okay. Can you see that?
I can see by the time the Capricorn age comes up, the word Christ won't even be mentioned anymore. It will become such a won't be used. Now we'll know what it is. It is still what he started, that movement, bringing it back in. It's his move, but it won't be termed that way, because every time it is, you think of a singular entity. Every single time. And
Yes.
the whole point to that is to go collective, to where he mixes in with everyone, and you can't tell them apart from anyone. And that's where we're, so by the time we hit that Capricorn age, you
That's
won't
right.
even, you'll have to study a history book to find that name.
That's right.
I don't know what we'll be calling it, oneness, whatever, but all those religious terms will be gone.
Mitta made a statement, bringing all these things out. He and I were talking about everything we've talked about tonight. And Mitta made a statement. He said, the newborn walks straight into this understanding easily. Why?
They're not indoctrinated. That's why.
They just walk into it so easy. The youths, the newborn, they hear it and they say, this is what we want. But let me say this. What did the scripture say brought Moses on the scene? A people came on the scene who wanted to be delivered. And when they came on the scene, they brought the prophet. What did the Spirit say to Moses? I have heard the cries of my people.
Yes.
You want to know why it's so easy for this generation to fall into it and just walk into it? Because they are people that were in the cloud crying, "Oh Lord, how long till it's our time to come down here?" And the Lord has heard the cries of the people,
Yes.
and He has brought these messages. He brought this movement into the world to draw them from the cloud to here. And they're coming here left and right by the hundreds and the thousands, every day. You wouldn't believe how much people I'm getting constantly saying, "We've never heard this. Tell us about William Branham. Tell us about this. Tell us about that. Tell us about this great movement. Tell us about what happened to you." All the time.
They're born free. They may not realize it until they become an adult and look back through history, but right now this new generation is born into freedom.
Yes. I like what Kit said about it. He said, once the narratives have been dropped and the previous programming has been stripped, then new things just flow out freely.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
I like that.
No restrictions.
Very good. Very well said.
I think that COVID-19 has moved us away from styles of government, and the world is starting to see relationship. This is me and Brother Mitchell talking. I think things will transpire based on relationship. There's where we have arrived and will continue to refine and have our growth in the area of relationship with both the spirit and the one world governments. I think we will leave rulership altogether, which is where all other forms of government have brought us to in this world. And that's the truth. Everything else has brought us to we want to control and rule you. And this is the first time that there's been a great movement in the earth that says we are collectively the body of the Lord. And we collectively hold the power within our hands. And it has been shifted to us away from all the ages. Jesus said, "All power and authority in heaven and earth is mine, and I'll be with you always in that capacity till the end of the ages." The ages have ended. The church is over. And Jesus is surrendering that power now to the collective body of the Lord to set it up in the earth. It's hard to get this across to people. Their eyes still focus on the tree of knowledge, and it doesn't allow them to focus on one spirit and one government. I feel we have gained all we can from good and evil, from those judgments. This is Brother Mitta. And we need to move past that attribute. Put it back into the tree of life. Shelve it. The world. Stop looking at it from that premises. Move beyond the judgment tree. That's really what it is. You call it tree of good and evil, but it's the tree of judgment.
It's a hanging tree.
Yes. Mitta. We can separate the failings, personality traits, murders, war, that these great men are a part of and involved in. Separate that from the overall scheme of things and see their purpose and role in the plan. We can do that with people in the Bible. If we would use that consciousness with our present condition toward all of us, it would take us higher than condemnation and judgment. We have a hard time doing that. I can look at David and all the horrible things about him, and I'm willing to put all that aside and say David was a prophet, a priest, a king, a mighty man, and the Spirit used him in a great way, and he was a man after God's own heart. And then I look over here at this guy in this day and age, and I say, he can't be used of the Lord. He's been married twice. He's a liar. He comes through this. He comes through that. Yeah, he's got a great ministry now, but he can't influence people. He can't even go to heaven. We're not willing to separate the atrocities out and say, we got some great men in this day. We got some great women in this day that are doing great things. That was Brother Mitta. And he said to me, he said, Nebuchadnezzar was the word for his day. I thought, yeah, okay. Hiram, Darius, great servants of faith civilization who came from the cloud. And I said, Mitta's against you, Brother Parnell. Oh, don't sound like you.
Sounds like he's right on cue.
We've been going at it, and we both love exactly what's being said. He said to me, Brother Parnell, I saw your comment about don't call you their prophet. I just want to tell you, it's healthy in keeping with the current flow of human consciousness and where the Spirit is moving. I agree with him. That's why I did it, because it didn't fit. And when something doesn't fit, I'm ready to move it. I'm ready to set it aside. I set aside hell. I set aside heaven. I set aside carnal minds. I set aside so many things, all of these gods and demons and everything else, and started pulling them all in because none of it fit how I felt anymore. None of it fit. He said, I see that happening. I see it's a healthy way of keeping the current flow of human consciousness. It doesn't remove the talents and the gifts and the blessings that a person carries in their life. It just removes the superiority and inferiority relationship. It's a power shift, empowering the people and leveling the playing field. Don't tell me he isn't right in there. He's right with us. You might not, some of you out there, you might not like the way my brother is handling his assembly. That's his assembly. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
He's doing what he needs to do, the way he feels, the flow of the mood, the Spirit that is in his area. He's doing what he needs to do. I'm doing what I need to do according to the flow of Spirit right here. And we don't have to match up. But it looks to me like we do. The body doesn't have less power because of the shift you've made. The power just shifts within the body. The power doesn't go away. It just shifts within the body. Shifting the power centralizes it. It doesn't separate it. I agree with him 100%. Leaving all the church age mentality, concepts, and terms is already a pandemic spiritually today. Still, many don't know what to do. Fear, fighting, depending, maintaining. That they're doing everything they can do, but know that they have no power at all, and they're not allowing the new things to surface and move in their lives. They're just doing everything they can do, but don't know what to do. Those that were once calling it a great brand new day are now calling it a gloomy day, are now waiting on a rapture where they're going to fly down out of heaven and we're going to fly up. And they've, when you come to a point that you don't understand, do you know what your own prophet told you when you come to a point that you don't understand? You're finally getting somewhere in the Spirit. That's what's happening. To those of us who have awakened, it's brought on new terms, new flow of the Spirit of life and thinking. We know we're Christ. We're not worried. We're awakened to all these things that are happening.
Don't skip.
Discuss it a little bit, so we will for just a few moments. The crown of the 7 church ages was perfected and done. These were part of the Pal Talk notes from 2014. The Libra house of the zodiac. Within it is a constellation called Corona. Here we are with the coronavirus. The crown given. The Hebrew name for the constellation is a royal crown. Its Arabic name is an ornament or a jewel. and its brightest star is named the Shining. The constellation of Libra sets forth the picture of redemption, beginning with the cross, ending with the crown, the corona. A royal crown and an ornament or a jewel. Christ redeems all things in this house of the balancer. It's the house of the Levites. All creation was brought into the house of the balancer. It is an air sign. Corona, the crowning of the ministry, is taking place. All of this we said back in 2010, 12.
6 years ago?
Yeah.
6, 7 years
14.
ago? Yeah.
We were going through New Zealand and the Philippines were a crowning of the ministry. The body of the Lord changed forms and shifted power in 1963, appearing as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. The bloody lamb was completed through the church ages. This change made her the ruler of the earth. She took her right dominion as prophesied throughout history and the scripture. By believing, we decide when something stays in the earth or when something goes. We are the body. If it has to leave, we decide that. All things are possible to us now. The prophet of February 28, 63 went to Coronado Forest, the Corona Forest, which means the crowning. And Christ, in the form of 7 angels, crowned the collective body, opening the book of rights for the all in all. Paul prophesied at this time where he said there would be a crowning not only for him, but for all those who love his appearing. It took place on Sunset Mountain after being crowned to come back to the earth as the son of David with a book of rights. We have seen the crowning and we love it. The jewels of the corona crowning outshine everything. The collective body smitten from the church ages gathered and changed her manifestation from a bloody lamb to be crowned as the collective body in the earth. What are we looking at? All those years ago, we were looking at a great crowning that took place and a move into the collective body in the earth, moving away from a one-man ministry. And here we were talking about it, and now these things that we talked about are actually happening in the earth. And we come down to where now look at the earth under the corona. The entire earth. I think I made the statement. The transition period has ended and the sonship is completed, and we are now shifting power to the collective body of the earth, to the body of the Lord, as she surrenders to the Father and begins to walk in the earth of the Father's business. We're now one. We're not divided. We understand who we are. We are in that time of corona. Paul said, every knee will bow, every tongue shall confess to the power of Christ, to his crowning, to everything that was to happen. Go back and read what Paul and the prophets said. Now here we are, and what's happened? Every government has bowed, every tongue has confessed, and everyone is in lockdown, staying at home, and they are confessing to the power of what? Corona. Symbolic to exactly what's doing in the spiritual government, one spirit in the earth. It's happening all around us, and we were talking about it 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Just touching it, just bringing it into view. Louis Villamore, the new spiritual pandemic. We are all Christ, is covering the whole humanity. Humanity is Christ, and that's the pandemic. Humanity is Christ. And it's a great pandemic striking the world, everywhere. We truly love unconditional. We shouldn't look at faults or so-called mistakes. My soul, the spirit, doesn't see things like that. When I do look at those things, I believe I slow my expansion and must realign my focus to see through my middle eye, my chakra. Jamie Wesley, I like that. Don't slow your expansion. Don't look at faults. Separate out. Realize that David and Joab are the same person. Don't judge or destroy or do away with either one of them. Just bring them together, make them one, and make them a stronger person. I said, Jamie, I agree with you. Don't look at the faults of any man. I could take any man in the Bible, in the history, in the governments, anywhere, and give me one day with a history book or with them personally, and I could slaughter them. I study. I have a degree in abnormal behavior, and I spot abnormal behaviors just like that, so quick. I see it, and I think to myself, abnormal behavior. And then my analytical mind begins to go to all the things that could happen. I'm telling you, every single one of us have it in us. But we have to get past all that. Put aside our atrocities, put aside our iniquities, put aside all these things, and look for that one movement spirit of Christ and bring it out and express it for the person. I said, Jamie, I agree with you on that. If I wanted to, I could pick WMB, William Branham, apart with his own words. I look past his upbringing and his associations with certain organizations and his individuals that he associated with. I look past his prejudices, which came out in his words. I look past his racism. I see him as a prophet, and I choose not to destroy the move of the Spirit that was in him for his day. I choose not to do that. Now, one of the issues with today is there's so many people that want to do that. Not just with William Branham, but with anybody. Pick away. Find something and just pick away at it and pick away at it and prove there's so many people that hate him. There's so many things he said that it doesn't work. If you want to, you can go back just a year ago and you can find things that I said that I totally not disagree with. I'm just totally so far beyond it. It ain't a part of me anymore.
Yeah.
And you can pick away.
Yeah.
And you can destroy. Or you can watch the move of the Spirit and move through with everything that's going on and continue to move. Jamie said, I agree with that. I listened to him, to his messages, just like you do for hours. But I felt that he was a prophet with a strong calling. If he was in physical form with us today, he would be in step with us, I'm sure. I believe he is still teaching us along with the other sages from the other side. I believe that with all my heart. It's a great day we're in. Very strong influences moving politically right now, religiously, economically, and they're all changing their garments because the coming of the Lord changed his garment. He changed from a second coming. He changed from a thief in the night, and he moved over to a brand new day. He moved over to a day where he was going to come into the earth, establish a government, and reign in the earth. And all of these others are doing the same thing now. They're changing their garments to set up a reign in the earth that is a good, humanitarian, benevolent reign of leaders throughout the world. It's happening.
It's happening. It's like the river of life, which has been fairly smooth with its turns and its shallows and its depths, but now it's moved into the rapids heading for some waterfalls.
Yes.
That's where the river is right now. It's in the rapids. It's very turbulent. It's going to go through a waterfall or two, but at the end of the last waterfall, you're going to hit calm waters again.
That's right.
And the river will be peaceful and calm and flowing.
Yeah.
That's where the flow is right now.
And the canoe might be destroyed.
Best thing to do is get out of the canoe. Just get out of it. You're better off just you in the water than in the canoe.
Yes. Every person is directed by the Spirit in the economy of the Spirit and will guide us into what we need to grow and mature. If we take our eye off of that fact, we start splitting and separating governments and spirits and building walls around our denominational thoughts. Every person is directed by the Spirit in the economy of the Spirit. Pontius Pilate, Caiaphas, Herod were the exact leaders needed to bring about the movement of the Spirit in that day. They needed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Judas was perfect for the moment. Couldn't have happened without him. We need to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Every move is a move of the Spirit to bring about, supposed to be in purpose and understanding for that day and age. Putin, Trump, Netanyahu, I can't think of his name, the leader of China, Canada, Trudeau, they're all in their perfect places. They're doing exactly what needs to happen to make the move into a one world government. And these moves are happening inside a smaller, more direct spiritual government. And it's happening and it's flowing throughout the political, religious, and economic, militaries. Everything is just flowing throughout. And all of it is moving into the third coming. Out of the second coming. They're changing their garments of what they were in the second coming, and they're putting on new garments. We come out for another act. It's another play. Don't get the last play mixed up with this play. Don't call Rome a whore today. You're going to find out we need Rome today.
Yep.
Don't call the USA a bunch of terrorists today. You're going to find out they're going to bring economic and military peace across the world. Don't look at Israel and say it's this and it's that and it's no good and it's going to be wiped out and they're not going to exist. They might not exist under the name of Israel. But I'll tell you this. I see, and I ain't going to call it this, but there's going to be so much power in Israel and Rome, they are almost going to be the 51st and 52nd state of the United States. And if anybody messes with them, you're messing with the greatest military government in the world. Its influence, it's happening all over the place. And it's drawing itself. Look how close they are to moving into Jerusalem. Already put the embassies there. Already declared Jerusalem as the capital. All we got to do now is say, it's there. The little horn takes its place, and it brings settlement throughout the Middle East, and the whole world falls into peace. And there's only a small contrast left, and that's China and Russia. And they will come last of all. The bear will be tamed.
Elna Bagaforo, forgive me if I mispronounce your name. One Movement of Spirit of Christ. Ray Leffenwell, Thy kingdom come, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Alan Stuckless, Great Fellowship, enjoyed. Love bless all.
Amen. My pup's ready to quit. She said, Daddy, the fellowship is over. Love you all. I enjoy this. I'm not here to make myself a name. I'm here to give you what the Holy Spirit is revealing in me. It's what my spirit sees happening all around us. I hope it's a help to you.
Flame.
greatest thing is declared to be so through the Spirit of Christ. He said it would come to this day. As we stand here, we trust and believe that. The energy is flowing. Everything that we are is moving into the earth. Let's heal one another through Christ. Let's love one another through Christ. And when I say through Christ, I'm talking about through your spirit, letting it raise up in you and overflow inside you and become the greatest thing in heaven and earth. We declare it to be so. Yes. Yeah.